not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her romance in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the falling of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the curve of old bones. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair, I will not lower my voice.
Savage Daughters by Boyd Campbell. I've learned that there are things far worse than death. Not living, being chief among them. Child, I owe you a beer soda at Fondren Public.
I'd love to. I need to see you.
I need to see you too, little bird. If I don't see you at regular intervals, the well runs dry.
You're so much kinder to us than we deserve.
Child, you and the senior partner, hell, your entire family, have been kinder to me than I ever imagined.
I do have something to tell you, though. Please don't hate me.
I'm pretty sure that's impossible. After work Friday?
Yes.
Friday comes and I'm sitting in Fondren Public, looking like the Phantom of the Opera crashing Christine's debut party, and I start getting text messages.
I'm gonna be 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. Is 6:30 okay?
The little bird frets and worries. There's a rule between us. No apologies ever. She breaks it constantly. As for what her ominous news might be, I assumed it might have something to do with the fella trying to be her beau that I knew wasn't happening. It might have to do with her job. It might have to do with her shutting down her magazine. I'd have to wait.
I'm moving. Don't hate me. I'm buying a house. Please don't be mad.
Mad? Is she going back to the West Coast? Where?
Rankin.
Oh, hell, I laugh so hard. Honey, this is not Paris. Hell, you'll be 3 miles from where I lived till you were no longer a teenager. Brandon and points northeast have their own true and proper, and often ancient, heritage and history. The rest of Rankin County is Jackson Auxiliary and a white flight relief valve. Where I lived on the reservoir was built to supply water for Jackson. Yeah, that never happened. Hey, thanks for the state money, though. And for generations, the entire Pearl River Valley Water Supply District Board was just guys from Jackson. White guys, I should add. The Ross Barnett Reservoir, named so out of a deal between a headerman and the governor to get money, was a real estate boondoggle created in the minds of Jackson development guys. Originally, it was going to be in Hinds County, basically where the two-lake proposal was going to be, but the corner of Hinds, Rankin, and Madison County seemed more exploitable. Save JXN, where angry peckerwoods go to die, is based in Pearl. The Jackson International Airport is in Flowood. For generations, Flowood was where people from Jackson went to buy booze and mixed-race prostitutes. I have an uncle who shot a man in the hip for talking about his mama at a Gold Coast speakeasy across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. His redemption arc is one of the most interesting stories I know. The fella he shot always had a limp, though. There was a highway leading north from Jackson to Brandon, and even places in the Delta. Around the Pearl River, it was just swamps and hobo hotels. Pop Primos, thinking 9 steps ahead, bought most of it. He had a hard time selling any of it till the guys wanting to build Jackson Prep found they couldn't afford any site actually in Jackson. So Jackson Prep ended up in Flowood. Then convenience stores, clubs, and restaurants. But what really kicked it off was when J.O. Manning and some others started putting medical offices there. Medical offices for patients and doctors living in Jackson. Most of the red sand used to supply foundations for the Jackson building boom in the 70s and 80s came from there. We were literally bringing parts of Rankin County into the city of Jackson. J.B. Torrance made a small fortune on that deal. I used to love visiting Brandon proper and the area around Fannin. It was like this beautiful other world. My grandmother's father had a 60-acre farm near Fannin. He raised mules for sale around Mississippi. Before tractors, Mules did most of the work in Mississippi. When the Flowers girls started getting up in years, my father and my cousin Ben started working on a deal to sell off the Fannin farm. It's mostly residential now. People only raise mules for living history places. I've only ever had much interest in two girls from Rankin County. One is an angel and 20 times smarter than me. The other struggled as hard as she could to make it at Millsaps, but she lived in the trailers in Florence. I'm not going to judge anybody for their humble beginnings, especially when they're crying and telling me, if things don't get better, I'm going to end up in the hospital or worse. She didn't know it, but or worse is something I usually take as a threat. Little girls sometimes choose or worse. To be fair, she didn't know that. Still, if you don't mean it, it's a bullshit move. I guess the thing she's most famous for is ruining my trip to New York to see the original cast of The Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. To be honest, you can't really ruin a trip to New York, but whatever thought I had about coitus while looking out our hotel window on Times Square never happened. Coitus did happen, fairly often, but it happened at my house on the reservoir.
I never knew you lived on the reservoir. You're like Mr. Jackson. How did I not know that?
I don't know. You being an infant and an adolescent might have something to do with it. Plus, you didn't know I existed. You can't sail in Jackson, at least you can't sail for very long reaches, so I lived on the reservoir. It didn't change my life much. I gave my work address as my home address and continued to vote in Jackson. There's something of a crisis in the United States where people little bird's age can't buy their first home. I was 23 when I bought my first home. She's 10 years older. That she can make this deal is a very good sign for her future. That so many other girls her age can't make this deal is a very bad sign for the country.
I don't know. I never felt like I fit in around Jackson.
Child, you can sit next to me on a sofa and not feel like you fit in. This is something we have in common. I knew she existed not long after she was born. I felt an obligation to her even then, but from what I could tell, she was happy, well cared for, and her future seemed impossibly bright. This is when Uncle Boyd fades into the scenery. I've apologized for this decision since. Meeting her, I thought, this is just another child of another classmate. There are quite a lot of them. Very quickly, I learned that we communicate on almost a psychic level. I knew that we shared a lot of the same history, and maybe that's all it took. But very soon, I was telling this child my oldest and deepest secrets. These days, she's without question my best friend that I never put on a play with. I call her my protégé, but there's more to it than that. She teaches me as much as I teach her. I am my mother's savage daughter. Sounds like an ancient song, but it's really very recent, written for Society of Creative Anachronism events. SCA is kind of like Renaissance fairs, but with sword fights and dungeons and dragons board games mixed in. I was in it for a while. Swords made from foam-covered broom handles and armor made from carpet remnants started not really doing it for me. I looked into getting actual chainmail, but holy smokes, it's cheaper to raise a child. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her omens in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the fall of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the curve of old bones. The song reminds me so much of the little bird. Sending her off to her job in the morning, I'll text her, "Be fierce."
Grr.
She'll text back, "If there's one thing I'd like to give this child from me, it's fearlessness. When it comes to girls I like, I'm timid as a dormouse, but actual mortal danger? Fuck off with that, will you? If that's as hard as you can hit, I'm not even slowing down." While my stories of the little bird are very real and uniquely hers, they're also a metaphor for how I see everyone's savage daughters. Men have kind of made a mess of things. I think it's up to the little girls to save us. The little bird actually will run barefoot, cursing sharp stones. Despite a professional career, she won't cut her hair. She will sometimes lower her voice till it's time not to. That's when her mama comes out. There's a scene in The Princess Bride where the Dread Pirate Roberts knocks out the great giant. While the giant sleeps, Dread Pirate Roberts smooths his hair and whispers, "Dream of large women," in his enormous ear. I do that. I dream of large women, giant, powerful women, savage daughters who curse sharp stones. Be fierce! Grrr!
I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her romance in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the falling of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the curve of old bones. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice.
The Life of Boyd is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber.